Hello everyone to this week's social psychology session, and we will talk about attribution and social explanation. So here I have in a subtitle, using explanations to explain it all. And the reason why I put it there is because attribution theories, attributions and social explanations were at some point so powerful, not only in social psychology, but in psychology in general, that they were used to kind of try to explain everything from depression to emotion to social conflict to basically achievement, anything can you think of. People would use attributional theories or the reasons or the ways people explain their own behavior and the behavior of others as the key cause and contributor to many psychological phenomenon. And today in this week I want to kind of show you why we feel, or at least felt for a very long time in social psychology, that is such a powerful approach, how it came about and how it can be applied to these many different areas. I want to start by showing you an historical video, a video that Heider and Simmel in a 1944 experiment used and showed participants. And let's watch it together, and then I will ask you about a little bit about it later. So let me turn off the sound here. You can see this is the 1940s. Video quality is a little bit different. Okay, so we have one triangle, two triangles, and a circle, the main characters in this little 1 minute video. Please watch carefully what's happening. It is intense. So just like you are watching this video, participants were asked to watch this video as well. Tension is rising. What will happen? Nicely done, huh? Ah! Little chase around the square, and off they go into the horizon. Okay. Somebody was a little bit angry. Okay. So now if we show this video, Heider and Simmel, they showed this video to participants just like you, and they watched it, and they were asking, can you tell me a little bit about the story? What did you see? What did you see in this experiment? And then participants would immediately start to say things like, oh, there was the big triangle and it kind of bullied the, I thought it might be a man, and there was another smaller triangle, a weaker man, and the big triangle was kind of mean and bullied the small, and it seems like there's this circle, and the circle I felt like was a female circle, and the female circle needed to be protected from the bully, so the smaller triangle protected it, but then they were in the house and so forth, right? You saw the story. And so why this is so interesting is when asked to kind of explain the behavior of these triangles, Peter automatically used kind of the anthropomorphized them, right? They turned them into humans. They ascribed, there's like, this one is evil, this is a good guy, bad guy, stronger, weaker, and so forth. They would ascribe motives and desires to these people, to these triangles, to these geometric shapes, right? They would have immediately really rich conceptions of the mental lives of these two-dimensional geometrical flat figures. And I think that's why Heider and Simmel were so interested in that, why this is a video I still show you, that even in this rough quality, even in this very I'm not sure if it's even an animation, our minds immediately starts to tell these stories, starts to assign desires and traits to geometric shapes. And it seems like there is something that is innate in us that we can't help but do, that we constantly try to explain things that happen around us. And this fit into Fritz Heider's idea that we are kind of naive psychologists or naive scientists. We talked about this in the beginning in our very first chapter, right? We talked about in the introduction about the importance of the theories people have about their behavior and other people's behavior. behavior. And this is something that attributional theory and social explanation really took seriously. So like, okay, people are constantly on the lookout for causes. Why do I and why do other people behave in a certain way? So we need to understand the causes. We are looking for the causes of our own behavior and the behavior of others. That's something that seems to be innately in us, as we just saw when we do it, even when just observing some geometrical forms. The second one, it seems like because we are doing this out of a desire for control and predictability. So I want to know how somebody else will predict. I want to behave. I want to know how I will behave in a certain setting. We are looking for stable factors that are not so specific to a certain situation, that are not so specific to maybe a certain mood, but something that's stable, that is endures. And so Haider kind of identified these two motivations, this almost the need for us to identify stable causes in order to predict and control the world. And the third one, which is kind of very influential, he also says like, okay, and one thing we do is we're constantly trying to figure out, is it something internal or external that causes the behavior? Is it something that is caused by the situation, or is it something that is caused by the person themselves? Is it something that is a trait to that person, or is it something that he or she only did because the situation demanded it? So this internal external idea is central to when we are trying to figure out why we and others do the things we do. So this is kind of the starting point in the 50s of this idea of taking explanations of others and ourselves serious in order to understand the behavior. And that led to a super rich, highly influential research agenda. I think it's hard to overestimate the influence it had at some point on psychology. You can see here 3 examples. There was at some point Seligman and Alloy and others formulated a theory around I can see that I'm a little bit in the way, for depression around attribution theory. They thought like, okay, people are depressed because they attribute in a certain way or they explain negative events that happen to them in a certain way. Here you can see this all started with Seligman's experiments with dogs and electric shocks. We'll come back to that later. Then there was the idea like, oh, even our emotions are caused by the explanations we have for them in a certain situation. Why we have, for instance, in a certain situation, some kind of physical arousal, and then this causes us our emotions. We basically observe what is happening to us, explain that, and that's what is resulting. It results in our emotions. And there's the third one where it's like the boldest one, where even like some psychologists thought that other fields in psychology, such as personality research, basically just used a bias in their way to explain behavior, and hence there's personality psychology. So personality psychology in a very extreme way, which obviously did not sustain, but in a very extreme way said like, oh, it's just a misattribution, a failure in attribution of behavior, not to the situation, but to the internal explanation of personality that led us to have personality psychology. So you can see once it's like, sometimes that's called construct creep. Once you have some powerful tool like a hammer, you see nails everywhere, and psychologists had a powerful tool called attributions, and they saw this as the cause for everything everywhere. We will talk a little bit at the end about some of the kind of disappointments, maybe you can say, with attribution theories. But let's first kind of see what we have on the menu today, what your program is, and then we dive a little bit deeper into that. And then we end with a critical evaluation of some of the theories. I will also sprinkle some criticism here and there on top of my explanation. So we will start with looking at how people explain their own behavior. So if something happens to me, if something good, something bad happens in my life, how do I explain that? And that's kind of gives us the foundation of understanding the dimensions of explanations. And then we can look at how we explain the behaviors of others, right? This is social psychology, this is social cognition. We are mainly interested in trying to understand how we explain the behaviors of others. And you will see it's really important to kind of look at the distinction between self and others, because that plays a big role. And it seems like we like to explain our own behavior slightly different than we explain the behavior of others. And then last and shortly, we will look also how we use that explanations and attributions to explain behavior of society at large with a short look at conspiracy theories. So that's it for today. I hope you're excited. Let's get right into it.